Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Holowitz, and in this tutorial we're going to talk about just working with contacts a little bit when we're working in Act Premium Cloud or Act Cloud. So right now you'll notice that there's only one contact on the screen. That's my contact, or what's called the My Record. Now, if I want to look up all the contacts in the database, I can go up and click on Lookup, All Contacts. Now, when I do that, it shows now just my contact, but what's a little bit different from the web version versus the desktop version is the desktop version, when you do a lookup, if there's more than one contact returned in that lookup, it automatically goes to something called a list view. Now, if I'm looking for a contact, it's a little awkward. I can go through the contacts one by clicking on the arrows that say backwards or forwards. The double arrows take me to the end of the list, which would be number 5374, or the beginning of the list on the left-hand side, which would be number 1, the double arrows pointing to the left. However, to look through all these is really awkward. So sometimes it's easier to look at this information in what's called a list view. And if you look over here on the right-hand side of the screen, here's the list view. And I'm going to click on that. Now, keep in mind, there's a couple things that I want to mention in this training. So, one is you'll notice that I'm in a web browser, but you don't see a lot of the stuff at the top of the web browser that you normally see, like the tabs and the address bar. And that's because I use the keyboard shortcut for a web browser. This is not an act trick. This is just a keyboard trick for a browser. And it typically works with all three browsers: Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Firefox are the three ones that I primarily talk about. So, by pressing the F11 key, it makes or gives us a full screen view of what we're working on. And again, that's not an act trick, that's an overall general tip. So the F11 key. Next, when we get in here and we look at this list view, you'll notice that our list has the company name, contact email, and some of this stuff is a little crowded. So when you're looking at this list view, it's very similar to if you've used Microsoft Excel, and I'm guessing many of you have. So when you have a heading such as these items, if I bring my pointer up and put it on the little lines in between each item, I can click and hold and drag to the left. So I can make contact a little wider. I can make the email a little bit wider just so I can see everything, and I can resize this stuff. Now, when I talk about different browsers, my experience has been that sometimes different browsers will handle this setting different. In other words, sometimes you can come back in tomorrow when you log into Act and all this resizing is gone. I personally have found Internet Explorer as of April of 2020 to be my choice. Now, another thing that I'm also going to point out to you that I recognize is probably happening is this all looks really small on the screen. So, another keyboard trick when you're working in a web browser, and again, this is not an act trick, this is a general browser trick. I'm going to hold the control key down and I'm going to press the plus sign on my keyboard. What that did is it made everything on my screen bigger. If I did control minus, it would take me back in the other direction. But I'm going to do control plus just to make it easier on your eyes. So now, because I did that and everything's bigger, you'll notice down at the bottom, now I have a scroll bar because some of the information went to the right off the screen. But in this case, I'm going to leave it like this for just a moment. So, if you've taken the sales training aspect of this training so far, you'll know that one of the big fans, or I'm a big fan of a field called the ID status field. Now, the ID status field is not available. It's not in this list view. Now, what I want you to be aware of is when you have a field in Act, if it's not seen here in the list, you can add it. You can take things and add them and take things out. So there's some items over here that are items that I'm probably going to take out, and things like the ID status that I want to add in. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. Over here on the far right-hand side, we have these little icons here. This is for print, but these little columns right here, this is Customize Column, and I'm going to click on that. When I click on that, it shows me all the different fields I have in ACT. Now, these are not going to be real familiar to you as you get started, but these are the fields that are currently showing up here over on this side, on the right-hand side. I'm going to click on Is User, and I'm going to click on the single arrow to take it back to the left. Private, back to the left. Favorite, back to the left. So there are certain things that I'm going to take out just because I don't really need them. The AMA score, that's irrelevant for right now, but this is just the general information that I want to see on my screen. So I'm going to leave all that stuff as is, but now I'm going to come over here on the left-hand side and I'm going to navigate down to the ID status field because I want to see that. So I'm going to click on ID status and I'm going to click on the single arrow. You don't want to click on the double arrows because it will add everything. If you by mistake click on the double arrows, just click cancel and start again. It's a lot easier to start and add a few things than have to take everything out again and then add the things back in you want. So if you do the double arrows by mistake, just click cancel and start over again. So I'm going to put the ID status in by clicking on the single arrow, moving it to the right. Now that it's here, I want to move it up the screen because I want to know a little bit more about this person and what they are. And I'm going to click OK. So now you'll see my screen's refreshing. It's going through the process. And one of the things I wish ACT would do is get rid of this white screen. I just find it annoying. And now here's my ID status field. For most of my contacts now, all this information is blank because I haven't filled that in. Now, when I'm looking at my contacts at this point, if I want to click on a contact to go to see their main detail view, which also can be seen right here, instead of this list view, I can click on their name. So if I click on Steve Drake, for example, I'm going to go right to Steve Drake's contact info. Now the reason this bar is off is because I made the screen bigger by using the control and the plus sign. And it threw this out of whack, but now you'll even notice all this information is bigger as well. So it makes it easier on the eyes, and for me working with you to help train you, it's easier on your eyes as well. So having said that, now I'm looking at Steve Drake and I see all his associated information. If I want to go back to the list view, I click up here on list view. And again, I get this white screen, and now we see more of the white screen. So that is how you quickly move to see all of your contacts and work with them in a list view and add fields and take fields away. In the next tutorial, I'm going to go into a little more detail about selecting specific contacts and how to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Have a great day. Bye now.